What's up guys, Rodidywalk here, we're back with another Pokemmo video. So, I've had a whole bunch of people joining the Discord after the last video, it's been great. And it's been fun to have a lot of discussions with people for all sorts of parts of the game, so people play casually, competitive, and whatnot. One of the questions I've been getting quite a lot though, from people who are just starting competitive or in competitive and looking to improve, is what's a good team or what's a simple team to build? And so, while I've been answering everyone, I figured it might be easiest to just make a video covering the subject so that there's a lot more reference material for people to look at everything I can put here. It's a lot easier to make one big long video than unloading this entire rant on someone every time they ask for a team. And this way we can all kind of, leave answers in the comments, kind of like tweaks, suggestions. We can have kind of a conversation on just simple teams that are easy to get into. All right, so with that out of the way, one more announcement. Someone from the Discord, Grove Tolkien, has made quite a bit of money from the event that we just had, the Lunar event, and so he's wanting to do a giveaway of just a Pokemon that someone wants. So if you would like to win a Pokemon just bred with, whatever IV's nature you want, in the comment section of this video, just leave a comment that says, you can say whatever, but then at the bottom just write giveaway and then Pokemon, and then like the name of the Pokemon that you want, so that I can just search through the comments by, giveaway and just randomly do it like we did last time. Let's have this run for like, 7 days, yeah, something like that. We'll give it 7 days from the video, so a week from when this comes out, to watch it, leave your thing there, then I'll get you guys in contact and you can breed that up for you. Okay, so, sorry, all that housekeeping stuff out of the way, let's get into the team. So, for the team, what I personally think is the best answer for the easiest to breed and simplest to play team that is still very strong and competitive is going to be Offense Rain. So, I'm not claiming this is maybe the best version of Rain, but it is by far the most effective and simplest one. You can easily sweep teams at basically anywhere in the ladder. I've watched games from like the very bottom to all the way at the top, and it's lots of ways for Rain to pick them apart. So let's get into this. A lot of these sets are going to be the standard sets. You can of course modify them a bit. These are just my recommendations for the easiest way to get going. So starting off with Rain, you're using Pelipper. If you're not familiar with Rain, if you're very new to competitive, so what Rain does in Pelipper, his ability Drizzle, sets up the Rain. It increases the power of Water-type moves by 50%, and reduces the power of Fire-type moves by 50%. Also, it doubles the speed of any Pokemon with a Swift Swim ability. So that's the main combo. Pelipper, whenever he switches into battle, sets up the Rain for 8 turns. Importantly, with the ability Drizzle, you have to survive your switch-in. Not the turn you switch in, you have to survive the actual switch-in. So, let's say Stealth Rocks are up, and Pelipper is at 20% HP. If you die 2 rocks as you come in, you don't actually set up the Rain. So it's important to keep Pelipper's HP above that line so you can set up Rain as many times as possible. That's kind of Pelipper's whole job, though. He is the support that gets everything going for the other Pokemon. So as such, his moves are going to be Roost, so he can still have the HP to keep setting up Rain, U-Turn, so that he can safely get you into one of your powerful sweepers. And for the other moves, you can run Defog on Pelipper. On an offensive team like this, where you're really just looking to go in and click buttons, you can actually get away without running Defog, because any team that spends a couple turns setting up hazards against you is just going to leave far too many turns for you to take whacks at them. Nothing in our team is particularly weak to rocks, except for Pelipper, but Pelipper can't defog for itself terribly easily, as any turn that Pelipper is in defogging for itself, you could just U-turn or Roost and then come in later. And so you can run defog probably over Place of Hurricane, I think, and in this top one you can run, actually I'd probably recommend Scald, just for the chance to burn. So this can be your standard Pelipper set. Physically defensive, pretty bulky. Pelipper can run some other sets, I'll just cover these quickly. So one thing that you do sometimes see is, for this item, for the defensive set, you run Damp Rock. This makes your Rain 8 turns instead of 5 turns. Very useful for abusing with Rain Sweepers. However, with Pelipper, you can run Speed and Special Attack, you could run Bulky Special Attack. I do want to mention this set in particular, with Modest, or potentially Jolly, because Max Speed, or potentially Timid. Max Speed Timid allows you to outspeed Max Speed non-Jolly Breloom, but that's maybe getting too into the weeds on this. So if you do want to run offensive Pelipper with Modest, Max Special Attack, you can run it with Damp Rock, or you can run with Choice Specs, and then you can turn Scald into either Surf or Hydro Pump. And suddenly you have a 110 base power move, which in the Rain, you have 100% accuracy on Hurricane. So 110 base power, specs, can't miss, or another 110 base power, but also boosted by an additional 50% by the Rain, Pelipper can hit incredibly hard, and lots of people don't expect it. The downside of this is, of course, that, you're much less resilient to taking hits, and you can probably only set up rain once or twice. On a team like this, that might be a good thing, though. So, now let's get into the rain sweepers. First off, we've got Ludicolo. Ludicolo, while not particularly strong, with only a 90 base special attack, abusing the boost to water-type moves from the rain, Ludicolo can still make quick work of most all offensive Pokemon, and Ludicolo has incredible coverage. To make use of this coverage, we're running Giga Drain, just so it can get some form of healing. It's really good at healing off of a bulky Pokemon that switches in, so you can keep putting out hits even with Life Orb. Ice Beam covers dragons, flyers, etc. Weather Ball is basically just better Surf in the rain. It's 100 base power with 100% accuracy. You can switch to other ones so that you could maybe hit a Tyranitar on switch in or hit a Torkoal on switch in, but I mean, you have Ice Beam, you have Giga Drain for the Tyranitar situation, or Focus Blast. And for Torkoal, yeah, it's not as good against Torkoal, but I mean, come on. So you can change this to a move that's always water if you want. This is going to be your best bang for your buck. It's almost as powerful as Hydro Pump, but it doesn't miss. Kingdra would be insane if it got that. And then Focus Blast. In this last slot, another good option that you can run is Knockoff. So in our generation, it is not boosted to the 65 base power. It's still the base 20 power. But what it's mainly for is a lot of common switch-ins, especially to Ludicolo, are going to be something like Eviolite Chansey and Eviolite Porygon 2. Knocking off their Eviolite makes them drastically less bulky. Knocking off a Milotic's Burn Orb as it switches in, or even knocking off its lefties as it switches in, can cripple it. Basically, this turns Ludicolo into the support offensive Pokemon, where he still does offense with all these moves. Like, these will hit incredibly hard, devastate most of the Pokemon you'll find out there. But Focus Blast is mainly for, Tyranitar, the big neutral Pokemon like Porygon, etc. So I definitely see merit to the argument for running Knockoff, especially if you don't want to deal with accuracy. But just in terms of simple, come in, click a button to attack, this set should work for you. You can run you can run Timid, so you can go with the speed increasing nature. And the reason I recommend Modest over that is that you still outspeed everything you're going to need to. The only things that you're trying to outspeed with Timid are honestly things like Kingdra that have not max speed investment. So that's about in the rain, you get a Kingdra that's trying to cut its speed. You could maybe outspeed that. I think that's generally not worth it. It's risky because it could be a Timid Kingdra or it could be a max speed Kingdra. In both cases, you're not faster than it. But I will mention that that's an option. Generally for the power, though, especially with the very pitiful base special attack, you really want that Modest boost. And with the Life Orb, it does quite a lot of damage. So here's Kingdra. Kingdra is my favorite rain sweeper. It hits much harder. Now, while it's only 90, or it's only 5 more base power here in your special attack, Kingdra doesn't have the options of Ludicolo. While there is Ice Beam on Kingdra, it's not nearly as important, because while you don't have all the other coverage, Kingdra only really needs 2 types of moves. You have your 2 water moves and your 2 dragon moves. You have 100% accuracy and extra power, 100% accuracy and no drop, and extra power but stat drop. This set destroys everything. Most offensive teams get their entire team swept by Kingdra. There are very few Pokemon, even Pokemon that resist Kingdra, that can survive switching into Kingdra. And the Pokemon that can survive switching into Kingdra's Hydro Pump specs, so as in, they have a Pokemon in, they switch in as you hit them, and then they live the next hit. We're talking Chansey and Blissey, if Blissey is above 80% HP, and Spidef Porygon 2, and Spidef Ferrothorn. Now, in Ferrothorn's case, it survives, but 2 Hydro Pumps from that range could knock it down to the point of basically being 3-hit KO'd, which means if you hit it once with Hydro Pump as it comes in, Ferrothorn is a check to Kingdra, but Kingdra can just hit it every time it switches in, and after about the 3rd rain-boosted spec Surf or Hydro Pump from Kingdra, now even your Ferrothorn's getting taken out, and Ferrothorn can't reliably heal. So, Kingdra can just absolutely trash teams without Blissey, which means that for these last 2 Pokemon, their main job is going to be, how do we deal with this Pokemon Kingdra cannot smash? Your Blisseys, your Chanseys, your massive Spidef walls. I do want to cover a couple move options on Kingdra. Well, I think this set will give you the most general usage. You can run physical Kingdra, but we're not going to get into that in this video. Other moves, Ice Beam is okay. The only reason you'd run Ice Beam is to maybe hit Ferrothorn outside of the rain, but because Stab gives you 50% increased damage on water-type moves, because you're water-type, and the Rain gives you 50% damage on water-type moves, a resisted Surf does more than Ice Beam, even though it's neutral damage against a Grass-type, so... or against Ferrothorn in particular, where it's neutral. So that's not really great. Hurricane is an option, as it does hit quite hard. The Confusion chance can really come in helpful. Hurricane's main use is on teams where some of their Pokemon resist Surf, some of them resist Dragon, and you don't want to lock yourself into one of the moves, because most people will assume Kingdra's choiced. So you could, which one of these could you drop? You could maybe drop Pulse for Hurricane. I don't know, I kind of like just having the option to go with whatever move. Or just to click whichever of the 2 stab moves fits when I need the most. But, that's just basics of this. Alright, so Kingdra's going to be our last Swift Swim Pokemon. Once again, I'm going to recommend an offensive nature, just increasing the damaging stat. Skip before there. So, so the IVs and EVs on these are usually pretty simple, just max the damaging stats. On the 2 Life Orb Pokemon, though, you want to make sure that your HP stat is not divisible by 10. So that kind of depends where you're at. You can put it here, or you could put it somewhere else. I don't know that off the top of my head. And if you have something without perfect IVs, you could look. The main reason is that Life Orb deals 10% of your max HP as recoil, rounded down. So if you have 119 total HP, you will take 11 damage as recoil every turn. But if you have 120 total HP, you'll take 12 damage as recoil every turn. So losing 1 max HP means you take 1 less HP every turn, so it's slightly better. Honestly, you can ignore it for most parts, but for really making the best Kingdra, that's what you'd want. So, Kingdra's great because it's your physical water-type attacker, which means the Chanseys and Blissies that can sit in front of Ludicolo and Kingdra, absolutely destroyed by a Waterfall. Aqua Jet is great because you have priority. Volcarona can sometimes be a problem to rain teams, as if you get a boost, as after the rain ends, they have to switch in Pelipper, which allows you to get a second boost as Pelipper comes in. I guess Pelipper can't one-hit KO Volcarona, which is a reason for the spec set, because sometimes that can. And then you have a problem where they have a +2 Volcarona, it's faster, and one-shots Ludicolo and Kingdra. Kabutops, Rain Aqua Jet, though, never a problem. No matter how fast Volk is, not living that. So, Stone Edge is fantastic, as Mandibuzz can be an issue, especially for Ludicolo. Kingdra, not as much if rocks are up, but, it's not always ideal situations. Sometimes you have to make do with Kabutops' Stone Edge, absolutely destroying things. Superpower is here to give you an additional option for handling Pokemon like Ferrothorn, or in a pinch, maybe a weakened Porygon 2. But you're generally better off going with Waterfall and relying on the flinch chance in that case. Well, actually, you're better off switching away from Porygon 2 if you don't kill it, but we can get into the gameplay of this team later. So these are just kind of the standard moves. You can run Superpower, or you can run Swords Dance here in this slot. Or maybe in this slot. But I generally find that if you take the time to Swords Dance, combined with Life Orb and entry hazards, you barely get enough hits off with Kabutops to make it worth it, especially on a team like this. Alright, so I'm going to cover Garchomp next, as on offensive rain, I think this is going to be your best Stealth Rocker. So you do really want Stealth Rocks to help chip down any opponent's Pokemon coming in. And if you look at the calcs for Kingdra and Ludicolo, but especially Kingdra, Stealth Rocks being up become insane. Suddenly, with rocks up, Mandibuzz can't switch into your Surf. Even Spinef Mandibuzz can't. Blissey, Calm Blissey, gets 2-hit KO'd by Hydro Pump if rocks are up, if the Blissey is at, I believe, about 80% before it switches in. So if their Kingdra has taken, or if their Blissey has taken any chip, like you pursued it once with a Scizor or something, it's almost at full health, it cannot switch into Kingdra, well, unless it wants to play around with this 80% accuracy. So, Stealth Rocks turn Kingdra from insane into almost broken. So, Stealth Rocks, mandatory on this set. Toxic on this set is what I prefer, because this Garchomp's job isn't really to deal damage. These 3 Rain Sweepers here, they're some of the hardest hitting Pokemon in the game. And so, weakening their checks and making it so that their checks lose the longevity that they need to be effective counters is generally a better use for Garchomp. And what I mean by that is, well, yes, you could a Dragon Claw or Draco Meteor into a Mandibuzz. It can always heal that off. But if you get rocks up, and you Toxic the Mandibuzz or Rotom that comes in to remove those rocks, now the Pokemon's health is always going down, which means it's much easier to wear them down late game with a Ludicolo or a Kingdra and go for a sweep that way. Also, Garchomp's power is just naturally less than these Pokemon. Sadly. At least, the way we're running this. So that leads you to your other 2 moves on this team. Fire Blast and Draco Meteor. Here, this is a suggestion for me in that this allows you to handle Ferrothorn more easily, and special Garchomp's Draco Meteor does a whole bunch of damage to usually physically defensive Rotoms, because removing physically defensive Rotom is pretty good for a team like this. That's why I picked these, as I feel checking Rotoms and Ferrothorns is a better option, but this is far from like the standard. This is far from necessary. Toxic and Stealth Rock, I think you should always be running on the sort of offensive rain Garchomp. But for these last two moves, you can run with Special Attack Investment, run Timid Set, but if you already have a Jolly Garchomp, there's no reason for you to rebreed a new Garchomp just for this. It'll work basically just as well running your standard Dragon Claw and Earthquake. Works just fine, because a lot of those bulky Pokemon that you're not hitting with Earthquake, you're just going to Toxic them anyways. So the fact that Draco Meteor hits Fizdef, Mandibuzz, and Rotom harder doesn't matter that much, because usually you get up Toxic, and then you go away and let something else handle the threat. So that can be an option too, and of course, with that set, you'd run something like this. Another option is the Spidef Garchomp I mentioned from another video. That allows Garchomp to keep putting up rocks in the face of Rotom more often, which is something I really value on a set like this. So for that, you would look something like this. You can run the Spidef set with either the special attacking or physical attacking set. You could run something like that. Without the special attack investment, that set's kind of weak on the special side, so you can rely on Garchomp's much higher base attack. In that case, you can think about throwing in Rock Slide to catch the errant, like Volcarona or something trying to set up, but with Kabutops, it's probably not as necessary. So Garchomp, fantastic Pokemon to lots of different sets. One other thing here, let's just throw Earthquake on this. This is also one of the sets where I think you can get away with sneaking another Life Orb into Garchomp if you want. Garchomp likes the longevity, but having the immediate Life Orb, especially for the Life Orb set, if you go with the special set. I think the Life Orb special set, special offense set, is quite effective. And of course, if you have a mixed Garchomp, that works just as well, right? Like, let's say you are, the naive nature, it's going to work fine. You're not taking that many special hits anyways. The reason I like to not be minus Spidef nature on a Chomp where I can avoid it is because taking a couple extra Hydro Pumps from Rotom Wash can be important. But, if you're running Life Orb, you can probably get away with your Life Orb naive 6x31 Chomp. So, and then in that case, you can back to your Draco Fire Blast, and this just allows them to hit that much harder. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the last Pokemon. The last Pokemon on this team is basically the Pokemon that's meant to say, what are the few Pokemon that can survive the Rain Onslaught? You're looking at your big, fighting weak, especially defensive Pokemon. So, Blissies, Chanseys, Ferrothorns, and Porygon 2s. Those are not the only Pokemon that survive Rain, but pretty darn close to it, which is horrifying. So this last slot on the team needs to be a Pokemon that beats those. Scizor is a great option as Choice Band Superpower, one-shots all of the aforementioned Pokemon, and you also have the option of Choice Band U-Turn to give you a very hard-hitting move to keep up momentum for your team. Pursuit is great, especially for finishing off a Jellicent, or keeping a Jellicent low, which this team really values, as Ludicolo is maybe your best option for dealing with Jellicent or Kabutops, depending on their spread. Bullet Punch is also great because, Kabutops has some priority, but more priority is never a bad thing, and Choice Band Bullet Punch is a great form of priority. However, on this slot, I think there are a couple other options. I would say Scizor is just universally an incredibly useful Pokemon, so it's good to breed one, and Scizor adds a lot of ease of use to the team because U-Turn is great for getting in a powerful attacker. However, some of the other good options for that slot on your team are going to be here. You have your standard Flame Orb Conkeldurr, Drain, Mach, Facade, and Rock Blast or Stone Edge. Rock Blast is just better for substitute Pokemon like Sub Gengar, Volcarona. Really up to preference at that point, though. I won't go too in-depth in these sets, but just, standard Conkeldurr. Why? It beats Ferrothorn, beats Blissey, beats all that stuff. Choice Band Dragonite, same thing. Your Choice Band Superpower still gets you all those one-hit KOs that you needed, but also Choice Band Extreme Speed is incredibly powerful, and Choice Band Dragonclaw really gets slept on. Then Heracross functions similar to Conkeldurr. It's a faster Conkeldurr that resists Mach Punch, so it's basically like a Conkeldurr that is good against opposing Conkeldurr, but Rain usually doesn't have that big of a problem, so you can kind of choose which one. Some of the advantages of Heracross are it can run in close combat more easily, while Conkeldurr can. Heracross, with the speed, can get more use out of it. Still a Facade. Shadow Claw is great for hitting ghosts, and, Stone Edge is fine. Okay, so those are your other fighters that can fill in that slot. Let's go back to our offensive rain team. So that's kind of my thoughts on a simple, powerful rain team. You just get this team in, you try to get your rocks up early, get your rain up, and then just start blasting, stab, surfs, hydro pumps, giga drains, whatever you need, all over your opponent's team. Yes, I think this should be a very good way for teaching people competitive, getting you set up to kind of learn the concepts that are important in competitive. So another option for this team is you can run something like a setup Pokemon in this slot. I think there could be some experimentation with a Cloyster, or potentially like a Sub-Dragon Dance. Dragonite is something I was messing around with in a couple of versions of this team, which is why this video took so long to release. But I think in terms of just ease of play, this is best, and it really helps you identify win conditions. So instead of looking at an opponent's team and having this huge decision matrix of, okay, I can do this move, which leads to this down the line, or this move, which leads to this down the line, the easiest way to look at your opponent's team and say, okay, which one of these 3 range sweepers wins the game if X is removed? And it's like, okay, well, there's no Blissey, so Kingdra's looking pretty good. They just have this Milotic, and it becomes, okay, well, if I can get that Milotic shipped down to, let's say, 50% or something, Kingdra just sweeps the game. So then your whole game plan becomes remove the check to Kingdra, or let's say the team really weak to Kabutops, and it's, I just need to get that, there are very few Pokemon that beat Kabutops, but probably I need to get that Rotomosh checked, right? Get it shipped down a little bit. Well, oops, a Garchomp lands a Toxic on that, and boom, now you're much further down the line of chipping down that threat. So it's great for teaching gameplay that way, and also, the added reason for PokeMMO why this is great is these Pokemon are super easy to breed. As opposed to balanced teams where every stat on every Pokemon is important, you can get away with a lot of lazy breeds. For Kabutops, is there an undo option? Yes, there it is. Okay. Sorry about that. Pretty unprofessional here. So, for Kabutops, you can get away with just running max attack, max speed, adamant. That's way cheaper than breeding up the other stats. They don't really matter. Ludicolo, same thing. Special attack, speed. Kingdra, special attack, speed. I will say, Kingdra has pretty good natural bulk. And honestly, as with any team, breeding with perfect IVs is going to be better. But if you're just looking to get into competitive, I know that the amount of farming you have to do to breed up one of these teams can be a really big inhibitor. And doing this minimizes that process a lot. Scizor, you can do a quick build with just HP attack. Also, there's an option. Fast Scizor is fine too. Really up to you. Or mix of both. Whatever you want. Garchomp is one of those Pokemon where I really think Garchomp gets a whole lot of value out of every stat. But, you can go with a cheap Garchomp here. This can also be any other Stealth Rocker you have lying around. Just a reliable Stealth Rocker. Ferrothorn is good in this slot. The reason why I chose Garchomp specifically for this team is because he's good at getting rocks up and then threatening the Pokemon that want to remove those rocks, which Ferrothorn can't do as easily. But, to each their own. Again, if you're just trying to get used to this team, this slot can be any good rocker. This slot can be any good Pokemon that can handle your Blissies, Porygons, Ferrothorns, and then your rain setup. So yeah, that should be just about it. And hopefully that answers most people's questions with, intro, competitive Pokemon teams. If you have any more questions, of course, feel free to join the Discord and ask me, PM or just leave them in general chat. I love answering those. Like I absolutely love this stuff. I didn't make this as a sort of a, guys, stop asking me, look at the video. It's this is more information than I could convey in like a typed conversation. So hopefully this has answered everything. But there are all sorts of other teams to explore, or if you have a certain Pokemon you want to build a team around, I'm always down to discuss that. So without further ado, that should just about finish this. I just want to mention one more time, make sure to leave the Pokemon you want in the giveaway down there so that we can help you along this process of breeding these Pokemon up. And I hope to have some gameplay videos up soon. All right, see you guys later.